Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fireside Chats with Veterans. My name is Don Randolph, and I'm very happy to have with me today Mr. William Bohannon.
William Clark Bohannon.
Mr. William Clark Bohannon.
Or William C., where I sign my checks.
That's important. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bohannon, for doing this and for coming to share some of your experiences as a veteran. I'd like to take you back to the time before you were in the service, and can you tell us a little bit about what life was like and what the circumstances were that that led to you joining the service? Were you drafted? Did you volunteer? Can you kind of take us back and
Well, I grew up at Eastland, and I was Dr. Clark was a doctor of all the mining men and their families. Mm-hmm. $2 a month, I believe they covered the whole family. I was the 7th son of 9 boys. Jim and Beulah Bohannon, Beulah Dunn Bohannon.
That was your mom and dad?
That was my mom and dad. Mm-hmm. And so we worked, had the farm. I grew up on this farm, 167-acre farm. We worked hard and helped everybody that came our way that needed help. And so growing on up there, and let's see, and when I had a sister that married to some people from Pennsylvania, Easton, Eastern Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. They grew up down there and was visiting, and one of my brothers went back to Easton with them. They talked to him to going back with them, and later I had a sister to go up there and get married. Mm-hmm. And so since I'm coming along here, and I graduated out of grade school from Rebecca Parker at Eastland. Mm-hmm. And my daddy was on the school board, but the school buses wasn't running yet out there.
Okay.
And so I helped make a crop, and then they closed the school at Clifty and sent the principal, who was later my brother-in-law, mm-hmm. to Eastland, and I'd make a crop after I was out of the 8th grade for a year. And like I said, and no school buses is on yet. And so my mother said, I want our William, that's the way she spoke of it, our William and our George, our Leslie, to review the 8th grade under Mr. Lamb and prepare him for high school. You know, Jim, they're going to put on the school buses next year. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so we went ahead and he brought his sister out at Christmas time for the Christmas program. Mm-hmm. And I married Bobby Lamb at Bonaire. They lived at Bonaire. Mm-hmm. And so then, of course, I got my call.
Now you got married on October 17th of
October 17th, 1942. Mm-hmm. And then I got my call to come into the Army January the 1st, 1943. Mm-hmm. And so they gave us breakfast at Robert Young's Cafe down here. Mm-hmm. And half of the men were from Cumberland County. There was about 40 or 50 of us. Mm-hmm. They took us to Camp Forest at Tullahoma. And from Tullahoma, we went to Fort Oglethorpe and got assigned for our basic training somewhere else. Fort McClellan, Alabama.
Fort McClellan, Alabama.
Fort McClellan, Alabama.
How did your new bride take the news that you had been drafted?
Sir?
How did your new bride take the news that you had been drafted?
Well, she was living with her mother and daddy at that time. And then I was on maneuvers now after basic training and all. We went to Fort Meade, Maryland. And after Fort Meade, Maryland, we came to A.P. Hill, Virginia on maneuvers near Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay. And what was your
And one
job?
morning I got my call. The sergeant says, Bohannon, you're getting emergency furlough. You've got a new baby boy at home. On the first day of August, 1943, he was born.
So your new bride was expecting when you
Yeah,
were drafted.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so
So you got to come back to see your
I got
child.
to come back to see the new boy. We went back to A.P.L., Virginia, and I never will forget. We left there on Labor Day and moved back to Fort Meade, Maryland, and from there we went to
What was your job? What were they training you to do?
and I was a mortar man.
Okay.
60 millimeter mortar.
Okay.
And at one time, see, we went to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. And from Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, we trained there. Oh, and by the way, we was burning up down in Virginia,
yeah.
and got up there at Camp McCoy, and it was snowing.
In Wisconsin.
Hey. And then after Camp McCoy, they took us to Iron Mountain, Michigan.
Okay.
And it was 30 below zero and snowing up here ankle deep.
Yep.
The trucks couldn't get us in there, and so they took us in on the train to APL, Virginia.
In Michigan.
In Michigan.
Okay.
Iron Mountain. Iron Mountain, Michigan.
How long did you stay there?
We stayed there 2 or 3 weeks. Now, here's what. We had to build little pens like out of 6-inch size trees, cut them and fix them up, hey, for 4 or 5 men to sleep under here. And there was nothing in that country except hemlock, pine lock. And we break enough boughs to make it, we'd put on the top, we'd put the little, of course, before, we would put the little poles in between the big ones and then put the boughs over, 12 inches thick.
Okay.
And we had rucksacks that we had instead of regular full wheel pack. And we'd carry it up, make them, had to be 12 inches thick all over the top of that. And same underneath down here where sleeping bags is going to be, about 12 inches. And then cover the top of it with snow.
The snow actually helped keep you warm.
Yeah.
Underneath.
Right. And then at night we had our sleeping bags. We had to take our boots off and put them in beside of us, and then zip up that blanket-like thing first, and then the canvas and slept pretty good. And when they would holler fall out the next morning, some of them boys didn't put their boots in, and they'd stick that cold foot, hey, in that cold boot.
Now, how long did you stay in
We
Michigan?
stayed there about 3 weeks.
Okay, and where did you go then?
And then we came back to Camp McCoy.
Okay.
And so I drove and then we shipped out from Camp McCoy. Now this was the 76th Infantry Division I was taking the training in.
Okay.
And they busted us up. The division is getting ready for invasion. They busted us up and sent us all overseas as replacements.
Okay. So how did you get across the Atlantic?
Now, they had Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth leased or some way or another from Britain. And most of the boys went over on them big ships, and the rest of us caught an old Italian liner, and the British was in command for it. And as we got way out to sea, the first breakfast they gave us was sauerkraut and weenies.
For breakfast.
And bread just as hard as rock, they break you off a piece. And orange marmalade, peel and all. And coffee, just colored water. Now some of the guys got complaining. And so the British sailor in charge, he told them, said, go ahead and complain, you Yanks. Says, wait till we hit the shores of England and see what we've been putting up with for the last 2 or 3 years. It took us 13 days and nights to cross the Atlantic. We went over on a fleet. There was a fleet. And I'll never forget, we landed at Southampton. That's where they launched the Titanic from. And after that, well, then we were assigned to our companies. Let's say we was around there for a week or so, and then I say we landed on the 25th day of May. They invaded on 6th of June, you know. And they came in the next morning, the night before the invasion, and took, I don't know maybe how many they took, but they put them boys on the gliders and flew them in the next morning. First thing.
Those were the airborne soldiers.
Yeah. The invasion, 6th of June. They were just made out of plywood and canvas. And so when we got in, the rest of us went in on the ship on the 12th, 6 days after. And we went in just as far as the ship could get us, because they would ship, the English Channel was rougher. At that time it had been in 50 years. And that assault boat, they'd scuttle up against our ship, and we went over on iron ladders. I'll never forget when we got right that down, they'd scuttle right in against the boat, and then they'd maybe drop down, maybe.
Just the seas were so rough.
Seas dropped down maybe 5 or 6 feet. And we were just jumping, you know. They was on each other's hands, you know, hollering, kind of excited. You know. All right. I jumped right in on top of some of them. And we went in as far as we could, and then, it was still floating around. I didn't want to say that, but and we got out on and so we got out on the hill, and them Germans, they had these little booby traps set everywhere. They had a little 3-prong outfit, just about the size of a small lamp, carbide light. I call it the base of it. And they had them things stuck everywhere, in the hedgerows and all. Anyway, we got up there, and they set us down, and this major, and I'll never forget what he said to us. And I thought it was kind of stupid of him, the way he said it. He said, "They're killing our boys off faster than we can replace them. And you boys are replacements." I never said nothing to anybody, but I just thought that's a stupid way to put it to us. And then we went into our first battle. I tell you, it was a sign, you know, and they was Germans laying everywhere too. And until we got them on the run, it was rough. It was rough, but I remember on one, we were supposed to take Hill 600, they called it, and we had to go across this wheat field. And they was opening that machine gun fire on us, and just a mowing that, you could see that wheat
being cut,
falling. You know, they're trying to. So we went on and on and on, and there was one battle that we got into.
Now, your job as a mortar man was to get into position and then shell the German
and you know
positions.
they wanted to send me out on a rifle with a rifle, feel out the enemy the first night with a rifle. I said, "I'm not a rifleman." Sergeant or captain or whoever it was talking to, giving me the orders. I said, "I'm a mortar man, 60 millimeter mortar." He said, "Take him down yonder, Sergeant. Take him right down there, and take that 60 millimeter mortar, base plate and barrel and all." Had a little level up here on the sights, you know, and range and all. I was good on it because they told me before when I was training here in the States, boy, you better get good on that. He said, when you're in battle, he said, you're back here and they're calling far over yonder.
They're giving you coordinates.
And said, you better get good on it. And I studied it, and I knew what I was talking about. And old sergeant come up, I was set it up and zeroed in on the base plate, and base stake. He come back and told that company. He says, he's right. He says, he's good on it. That's, if you went out feeling out the enemy, scouts out, you didn't come back. Very few got back, set out on, feel out the enemy, you know.
The folks that were doing reconnaissance had a very dangerous job.
Yeah, right.
Now, did it seem like you made pretty steady advances there?
And look here. And we was went down in this low place. There's a little creek there. And then there's a bluff that went up like this. There was a hole back in about that big around. There was a sergeant in there. He hollered for him to come out, and there was 3 or 4 of us made a dive for that hole, and I beat them all. Got in there. And the Germans was shelling us, and ours artillery was falling short on us. We was getting it from both sides, right there. That one time. Probably never happened anymore. And I stayed in there. You could feel the earth jarring, you know. I stayed in there until they withdrew. They didn't retreat, they withdrew. There I was when I come out of that hole.
Was it just you?
Yeah, just me. Hey, I was doing that jujitsu run on them, you know. They opened fire on me, see. And I played like they got me. Honest. While I was laying there, they'd fire. I've seen it knock the dust up and under my helmet. It was 3 or 4 days before I got back to company.
Oh.
Hey, but at night, I'd sleep under. Hey, the Germans had barn doors and leaned over ditches and, you know, and all on the side of the road. All right. And they used a lot of fodder from corn, you know. Hey, they make beds out of that. Hey, one night I heard them coming through, and you didn't get up and run in. They cut your head off, see. Hey, they didn't know who you were out there in that black dark. I eased up. Out there I heard them coming by. And it was lighting up. I knew they was American soldiers. I followed them back. And this old sergeant, he took 3 or 4 of them men and led me back to my company. And there was a little boy I'll never forget. I'll never forget his name. I forget a lot of stuff, but I couldn't forget this. He gave me enough French money to get him a jug of wine if I run in to any while I was gone. And his name was Billy Barnelli.
Billy Barnelli.
Billy Barnelli. And when I got back where the company was, they dug in under these hedgerows. And he got killed right there, 2 or 3 of them. Up at the shell would come in there. Speaking of hedgerows, you see, as the Germans, we drove back, they had pictures of every foot of that land that they retreated on.
They knew the land well.
Yeah, they knew whether it was a good place to park trucks and stuff and you know, and companies and all. And we wasn't in there very far. This guy down come up with a V blade on that dozer. Put on that dozer and bust down doggone.
Just went through the hedgerow?
Yeah, see, they would, what them French would do, they'd pile this dirt up about this high and then set the hedge on top.
On top of it.
On top of it, and the time it got any height, well, all them roots is down in yonder. See?
In the mounded up dirt.
Yeah, and that's the reason why they couldn't, hey, in a tank and all, would get in there and get it right up against that thing and just sit there and spin its tracks. Couldn't climb off over there. Hey, the Germans, they had it pretty well figured out. Another thing, right at the top of the mountain, all the way across, the French, what they had pillboxes all the way across their line down there. It's called the homogenal line.
Homogenal line.
Homogenal line. And the secret line now was in the Germany, and it was just hey, they just spikes stuck up just about like that, but they was staggered. There was 3 or 4 rows of them, and boy, they'd bomb the heck out of them to bust them open to get through there.
Now, how long did you stay in France?
Hey, I stayed. Oh, wow. Then, and let's see, how was it now? And then I got hit, woke up in the field hospital. From all that bombing and it knocked me out of my hole, you know. And it just knocked me out. Hey, and I went in there and woke up in the field hospital. That's when they sent us and flew us back, a bunch of us, to England, and stayed over there in the 10th Replacement Center. And you know, I told you when they flew back, when we went back, hey, into Antwerp, Belgium, landed over there. And then's when they signed me to this water business, that big unit.
Oh, okay.
Just like a
water purification unit?
Water purification.
Okay. Now, where did you get injured that you woke up in the field hospital?
Le Haze de Puy.
But where did you get, was it your leg or your?
Yeah, hey, I was just knocked out. Well, I was not deep wounded, but I was scratched all over. And hey.
So how long were you recovering?
Bursted my eardrums.
It burst your eardrums?
Yeah, see, I haven't heard I can't hear a thing out of that, even with all the help of a hearing aid. And boy, it was one more, there was so many things that I experienced that I can't, you know, I can think of them, but they had one place there where they had posts down through there, and that's where they'd tie the prisoners and shoot them. There's a big hole over back, and just push them back off. There were so many. Hey, and I went on. Hey, I was in Nuremberg. I was in Nuremberg and went plumb on into Austria while I was over there. I don't know, I can't remember just how it all went. But I do know at Nuremberg was where he made his big speeches, old Hitler, you know.
Yeah.
And I went to the top of that thing. I went, hey, way up, you know, I had this big swastika right up there where he made his speeches. Them boys blowed that thing all to pieces.
Were you there when they did that?
No, I wasn't there when they did that. But you could see, as after the battle, that hey, we was cleaning up after them, you know. I went plumb on in. I got into, I was into Austria for 4 or 5 nights. Hey.
Now, were you still doing the water purification job at that point?
But no, I don't remember about that. But where we purified the water. Oh, now let's wait a minute. Oh, yeah, and then after purifying water, they assigned me back, and we was getting ready. We was washing equipment and getting ready to go to Japan when they dropped the atomic bomb on the 2nd day of September, I believe it was. We was getting ready. We was going to ship out over to Japan, and they dropped that atomic bomb, and they said, "That's it, boy." Hey, we got back home. Let's see. Yeah, Camp Butner. I was discharged. We made it back home, and there in New York, and they just said, "Hey, come in there at night." And man, I won't never forget that. Oh, from there, ended up at, wait a minute, Camp Butler, North Carolina.
Okay, so that's where you went
Was
to
discharged.
when you got back from overseas.
Yeah.
You came back to Camp Buckner.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Hey, and I got, hey, that's where the discharge is at. Camp Butler, North Carolina.
Okay.
Seemed like it's a university there, Duke.
Duke University.
Yeah, Duke. Hey, I'll never forget that. There's a big picture was up there. See, Duke, Duke University. That's where it was discharged on the 30th day of November, 1945.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So you were in 3 years from January 1st of 43.
like 30 days.
It'll be in 3 years.
Been 3 years. And and my wife kept the post office. Let me show you something. Wait a minute. She kept the post office at Bohannon. All them little towns had post office. And she had general delivery. There's my old dog tag. Bobby was her name.
Okay.
Hey, general delivery, Bohannon, Tennessee. I was in Cologne, Germany, the morning Franklin Delano Roosevelt died. On my birthday, 12th of April, 45. Read all about it.
It's on the coin?
Yes, sir.
It says Franklin D. Roosevelt, born January 30th, 1882, brought country out of the Depression, headed war effort during World War II, only president elected 4 terms, died April 12th, 1945.
On my birthday at Cologne, Germany.
And you've had that coin ever since then?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Here's a penny that was 118 and 22. And I was born April 12th, 1922.
And this penny is the size of a quarter today.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. 1882.
Yeah. See, that's 100 years older than.
It's amazing. So I imagine your wife was pretty happy to see you when you got home.
And she kept the post office for $1 a day the whole time I was in there. And I was getting $50 a month. And I took 35, left me 15. Hey, and the government put 35, made her 70. And her $30 a day for the month made her $100 for her and her daddy and mother and the boy.
That was pretty good at the time.
And had $700 in the bank.
Wow.
When I got home.
That's pretty good.
Hey, I just always said she could make $1 out of 15 cents.
Well, Mr. Bohannon,
we've had a good, I hope I haven't.
I want to say thank you. Thank you for coming to do this today.
Hey.
Thank you for your service.
Hey, buddy.
It's been a great pleasure to have this conversation.
And reached out to others. My daddy and
she did.
Reached out to others all the days of her lives.
That's good. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I got your hands full there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you. Hey, Brother Randolph.
Yep. And I want to say thank you very much.
Don Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. I want to say thank you to the viewers for tuning in. I want to say thank you to the veterans who have tuned in. Thank you, Ben Lohman, for making this show possible. Thank you to the Rotary Club of Sparta. I encourage everyone to check out their Veterans Park in Sparta. It is not too late. If you are a veteran, a White County veteran, and you want to have your veteran's name on the wall, it is not too late. Just contact anyone in the Rotary Club. I want to say thank you to all of our active duty service members. And thank you most of all to those of you watching. Again, my name is Don Randolph. Have a good evening.